Hey everybody, Travis here with Shoebox Treasures. Today, let's go over a couple key mistakes people make when they try to get into the resale game. Okay, a big one is never get attached to your cards. So if you have an emotional attachment to your cards, you're always going to price them well above the market because subconsciously you don't want to sell them. So for example, this Stallworth, I can get this Stallworth rookie all day between $2 and $6 depending on the condition, centering, etc. If you price this card at $100, people are going to walk by your table and laugh. And in a lot of instances, they're not even going to stop and look at your other product. So you got to be very smart and diligent on looking up your eBay comps, using your Ludex, using your market movers, and you price your cards into a point where you can move them and they will sell. Another big issue that people run into is right after COVID, cards skyrocketed. I mean, we've never seen prices like what we saw. You could have a 1996 Mark McGwire and it was selling for top dollar and then some. That is not the case anymore. The market has dropped down to a reasonable level. The cards that were 100 times where they should have been are now back to that base level. So if you keep your COVID prices, you're not going to sell a card. It goes right back to that price point. Be smart. Use eBay, use Ludex, use market movers. I cannot stress that enough. You have to price yourself in the market. 1 and 2 that we just went over are basically the same thing, but you've got to be smart. Price, price, price. Here's another one, a real big one. Do not spend more than your budget allows. So if you go to a card show and you sell $50 worth of cards, do not go out and spend $5,000 because it's a lot easier to buy than it will ever be to sell. You also have to be in a reasonable mindset. Just because, for example, this Jack Ham is nice and shiny, oh, I gotta have it. If I buy this card, am I gonna sell it? You have to buy right. Buying right is the key to any business. You gotta buy right, sell right. Card shows, make sure that you are bringing products that not necessarily is something that you like, but think of other people. So you have to have a wide array of products. You have to have a little bit of football, baseball, basketball, hockey. I did really good in the beginning in racing because I was the only person that carried racing and hockey, and people would stop. My problem is I'm not a seller. I got emotionally attached to my cards, and it was so hard for me as a person to let them go. So, for example, I sold a Jim Brown, 1958 Jim Brown. As soon as it left my hand and went to the person who bought it, I regretted it instantly. I had 4 more in my collection, but I just could not let it go. So I went home and bought another one. I actually paid more than what I sold it for. So you got to make sure that you're prepared to sell. If you don't want to sell and you're attached to them, don't do it because it's a losing game. Communication. If you are in a relationship, you're married, girlfriend, boyfriend, make sure that you involve your partner. I have run into many times where I married a saint, but many times where I figured it was better to ask forgiveness than permission, and that's not the case because there have been a couple of times in our relationship where the bills, the mortgage, everything's due, and here I am writing a check for $5,000 to buy cards, wiping out the bills account. So make sure you communicate with your partner. That's key because if you don't communicate, you're not going to be successful in the selling game. Last but not least for me, remember why you're doing it. Are you doing it for the love? Are you doing it because you want to make a little extra income? Or is this going to be your full-time career? You have to establish in the beginning what your plan is. Don't do anything in life unless you have a bulletproof plan. Never jump into the deep end and then realize you can't swim. So you've got to be patient, make a plan, draw it up, and take your time. Don't rush into it. When I decided I was going to sell a few years back, I jumped in. I didn't have a plan. I was like, let's go, let's do this. I went from waking up, going to work, and then getting this idea of I'm going to open this mega $1,000,000 huge card world, and no plan, no backing, no ideas, just I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to grab my wand, I'm going to say boom, and there it is. Have a plan, because I failed. I'm not going to lie, I failed at selling. I am not a seller. I've learned that. That's why I do this collector's page, because I cannot part with the cards. I will never be successful selling because I'm attached to them. So I understand I'm a collector. If you want to sell, make sure that you are a seller and you have done your research, you have your plan, and you're ready to go. Till next time, never stop collecting.